So, this is the first little video in the improving life category of my videos, and originally I had called this self-improvement because this is what it's often called, but as it is the first video, I want to just point out that I actually don't like the term self-improvement because it kind of encapsulates this idea that in order to lead a happier life, you need to just improve yourself. But I don't really find this too accurate, to be honest. I don't think it's true. I've met some people who are very, very great people who were basically self-improvement nuts. They would do everything they could to improve themselves, and they were very good at what they were doing, but they didn't exactly lead very happy lives. Maybe you can think of a person around you that is kind of like that, and you'd always ask yourself, why don't they live a happier life if they have improved themselves and their skills to such a point? And it is because, sorry, and this is because there are many skills about having a good life that don't exactly improve yourself. A lot of times it has to do with improving others over yourself and prioritizing others over yourself. It can also mean that instead of looking at yourself, you need to look at people around you and your environment and for example, the kind of environment that you are creating for other people. So improving other people can actually help improving your life. And so this is kind of why I decided that I was going to call this category improving life, because that's really what we're trying to do, right? We are trying to improve our lives by thinking about what can we do better, or rather, where should we focus on? It's not necessarily about having to do something better. Just because you get better at a lot of things doesn't necessarily mean that your life is improved. A lot of times you need to just focus on other things and you need to shift where you're paying your attention to. Now that's out of the way. I don't really choose these videos or topics in a chronological order. I choose whatever I'm currently thinking about or going through myself. But as it happens, rewarding yourself the right way is actually a topic that I think is very fundamental, to almost all other problems, because the way that you reward yourself, or the way that you have been rewarded also as a child, can really fuck you up in the long run, or make it easier for you in the long run. So this is often a root problem that a lot of people have. It's oftentimes the one thing that can change so much in a person's life. It's just, how are you rewarding yourself? Because in the end, this is basically the fundamentals of life, right? You go through life, and if you succeed at something, you reward yourself. So if we take a experience like you come face to face with a dangerous animal and you decided, rightfully so, that you should run away, your body will actually reward yourself. It will give you a sort of high, like a chemical high, and you think, yes, Same as if you fight off the intruder, that also gives you a reward. If you're having sex, if you're reproducing, it gives you a reward. If you're eating, that is a reward. I think fundamentally everyone can agree that if we are hungry, nothing feels better than eating. But why does it? Why? Why do we feel good about it? And this is because it's our body's way of regulating our doings. If actually, this is something that I came face to face with my retarded brother, and I'm not just saying that. I always have to explain this. No, my brother is actually retarded. He had parts of his brain cut out when he was just 2 years old because he had a brain tumor. So I got to experience a very different, kind of, person growing up. And my brother, he did not have a lot of these reward systems in place, and so a lot of things were not a big concern to him. He was very apathetic about many things. He would just wet himself, forget to eat, forget to sleep, just not do things that any normal human just does. But it's partly because this reward system is just not there, and like oftentimes he just asks, why do I have to do anything at all, And whether we like it or not, we do things because we feel rewarded for it. We spend time with our friends because in a way that it's beneficial to us, whether we like to hear it or not, or whether we want to tell them or not. And so I think it's very baseline. It's a very baseline thing to look at. In what ways are you rewarding yourself? And are you rewarding yourself of the right things? You have to think of rewards differently too, maybe, because just because you think something is a reward, it doesn't necessarily have to be considered a reward by your nervous system. And just because you think something isn't a reward doesn't mean that it is not. It could be. And so the way I look at it is that anything that makes you have a rush of serotonin or dopamine is basically a bit of a reward. You're rewarding yourself. So sometimes I find myself to come home after work, and it was a long, stressful day. I feel a bit tired. I feel a bit exhausted, but I kind of have to do some stuff. I need to keep going. I need to go ahead, make some food, take a shower, do some chores. But then I get stuck on the toilet, and I get stuck just watching TikToks, and I just get stuck there. I'm already way done with my business. So why am I stuck there? Well, it might just be because I feel like I need a reward, like I need to actually give myself a little bit of a reward because hell, I'm starved. Like I'm starved for some of those good chemicals because I've just been at work. And I can't just go on. And the level of how often you need rewards also depends on you. It depends on how often have you rewarded yourself. It's not a ultimate and homogeneous spectrum across all humans that we need a specific amount and then we're happy. No, like it can absolutely depend on you. If, for example, you have given yourself many rewards across your life all the time, every 10 minutes you do something to reward yourself, you'll end up getting addicted. That's what addiction is, when it becomes not enough anymore and you need to do it so often. And then eventually it feels bad because you're raising your average, level of these chemicals in your brain. And then when it drops below average, it's perceived as dangerous. It's perceived as, oh no, we are actually going to suffer. And the reason why I say it's perceived as dangerous is because it actually is. Dropping in mood is actually dangerous. Maybe not in humans anymore, but, in other animal groups, negative emotion and low serotonin levels, they actually mean you are in danger because you are going to lack the drive necessary to compete. You're going to lack the drive necessary to actually be around. And so what they found is that in a lot of animals that are highly competitive and highly successful, which is also successful in mating and successful in their own hierarchy within their peer group, is that those who were more successful had higher levels of serotonin. And so obviously, yes, because they get more rewards, right? Because, they have that. But it also works the other way around. Because you have higher serotonin, you are more confident. And because you are more confident, you are more competent. And because you are more competent, you can be rewarded more often and you can feel happier. And you see where this is going. So it is actually dangerous. You can lose status. You can lose a lot of things by just dropping in mood and serotonin. So obviously our body has an aversion to seeking like below average levels of serotonin. It will drive us to act in a way to benefit us, to gain access to positive chemicals again. And in a way that's good, but in today's society it's also kind of bad, because we have access to these really easy, low maintenance ways of accessing serotonin fuel, if we want to call it a fuel, that we don't really have to do anything for them. And so it creates a lot of people who are addicted to their phone, who are addicted to TikToks, who are addicted to YouTube, who are addicted to porn, who are addicted to all kinds of things without really realizing it. Like, they need stimulation all the time. And if they don't get it, it feels almost threatening. Like, have you ever seen someone who's doing something that's absolutely bad for themselves, but when you try to actually take it away from them, they get mad at you? Like you've just threatened their very existence, you threatened their very being. Maybe a child comes to mind, because yeah, that happens to children, but I've also seen it in adults. Maybe not as extreme and primal as in children, but children definitely, can harbor a lot of that, and you can see it, and I think you can imagine right now, like a kid that has been given too much access or too many rewards, all the time, in, let's say, for example, sweets or something like that, and sugar, maybe sodas from a young age. And I personally remember a moment where I was in an IKEA restaurant, actually, and there was a family there, and there was a toddler around 3 years old, I'd say, 2-3 years old, not capable of like actually speaking all that well just yet, although I can't say, but like I want to say 2 years old. Let's just go with 2 years old. And this kid sadly was already quite big, like had fat rolls on itself, and I'm not talking about a chubby kid. I'm talking about fat rolls on a kid, on like a 2-year-old or 3-year-old or something like that, and it was just sitting there with a Sprite bottle, like a soda bottle, in its mouth, just gulping away. And the mother tried to take it away, and kid just screamed and got mad, and was like getting all red in the face, and really just upset. And this is what happens when you reward yourself the wrong way. You feel upset, you feel bored, you feel antsy, you feel all these things. And I'm actually going through that right now. I'm also trying to reward myself in a better way, and I have rewarded myself the wrong way for many years of my life, and it's not always been easy. In fact, it has often ruined a lot of friendships, relationships, and other things. I'm not going to go into any detail here, but if you are struggling with something like this, just know there are other people who are struggling, and it's okay to struggle, and you can actually do it. It just takes time and a little bit more than just willpower, because willpower, it only gets you so far, because you have to think about it this way. It is your will to reward yourself. You cannot stop yourself from rewarding yourself. So willpower is not going to fix your addiction. You need to actually put barriers in your place. This is why when people need to get off their drugs, they're put in environments where they don't have access to these drugs. You cannot expect someone who's addicted to anything to manage if they don't have a limitation to access to go along with it. So if you're trying to quit smoking, if you're trying to quit anything at all, the best thing to do is to put actual barriers in place that you cannot control. If it's about smoking, for example, only take as many cigarettes with you as you think is a agreeable amount for that day. If you take 10, you're tempted to smoke 10. But if you only take 5, you can only smoke 5, right? So you're going to act a lot differently if there's a limit to how much you can actually smoke. And this includes also, like limiting your access to other people who are smoking. And this is the hard one because, it's like a social thing and so on and so forth. And you have to just realize that a lot of times maybe you are rewarding yourself with it. So when it's a particular stressful situation, which, for example, running away from a predator, that's a stressful situation. So now your brain needs a reward, and then you have a lot of stress and you want to reward yourself, and then you smoke. Okay, that's the problem. What can you do instead? And this is a lot of mental gymnastics, and I'm struggling with it as well. Like I'm trying to find things that I find meaningful enough and I find engaging enough to reward myself with. After I come home from work, I'm eating, but eating to me is not a reward. Sometimes it's just a necessity. I've often coupled eating with watching something so I can feel more like I'm actually rewarding myself. And I feel like my days are usually a bit better when I do something like this, But lately I'm also trying to cut down screen time and cut down internet time. So a lot of times I actually don't have any screen time or any internet time left in the day when I'm eating. Maybe I need to change that a bit because I've limited myself to a specific time in the day when I have internet. But maybe I need to limit it to a specific amount because today, for example, I came home from work and I immediately went to go grocery shopping, and then I immediately made some food, which was also very, much of a chore for me because my job is very physically demanding. So I was feeling very down and, just wanted to sit and just wanted to relax. And then when I finally sat with my food, I felt a bit demotivated because I didn't have anything that I could watch. I opted for music instead, and that sort of took the edge off. But afterwards, I was still not ready to do more chores. Like, I realized I need to do more for myself. And that's why I'm talking to you right now and I'm recording this video, because I decided that what I will do for myself is to get a little bit of my thoughts off my chest. And so this is the problem that you're facing. If you've always rewarded yourself in a specific way and you're trying to change that, you need to actually become aware of what is it that you're rewarding yourself with. Is it that hour of TikTok that you're doing? Is it that porn you're watching? Is it the drugs you're taking? Is it I consider nicotine a drug, like it's a drug. It is beneficial to you as well, it's mostly just what the other stuff that you're inhaling that's bad. Nicotine itself isn't bad at all, and having a regulated amount of it can actually be beneficial, but that's the problem, regulating it. That's the thing. It needs to not be your primary source of reward, And I think that's just what I'm going to leave you with, There's many more things you could talk about here, and most of it having to do with like strategies, but you're going to have to come up with that yourself. It's not something that anybody can tell you, but the general strategy is to find things that you can replace your reward systems with that are more healthy for you. It's going to take time to get used to it. You may throw a tantrum or two in the first few weeks, but eventually you're going to adapt to these new ways of rewarding yourself. If you're usually not moving around a lot, having physical activity can actually feel very rewarding. It can give you a high if you cut out all the other things that kind of overshadow that. So that's like the general strategy, like finding things to do to reward yourself and finding the right times as well. Like I find that I definitely need a reward after work, so I need to take a little bit of a break. And I think I will personally stick to watching something while I eat, but limiting it to just, a specific amount of time, because my problem is that I sometimes get stuck and I just keep watching, and then I tell myself, okay, I will stop. but then I end up on YouTube because I'm looking for music to listen to, and then I see a video that's interesting, and then I watch that, or I see some shorts, and then that short was funny, so I'm immediately scrolling down to get to the next one. And you see where this is going. It's all very difficult sometimes to get away from it. That's why I put barriers in place. That's why I'm telling myself, okay, I'm setting a time limit, because I know my willpower is not going to be enough to overcome this. So I hope that if you are struggling with anything, that maybe this was beneficial and you can improve your life a little bit. If not, I hope it was at least interesting. Leave comments down in the comment section. Any questions are always appreciated. Anyway, take care. I'll see you in the next one.